Hey, oh, okay, there we go. How we doing today, Twitch? My name is James Spencer. I am one of your hosts here on Howdy Partner at AWS. Welcome to the show. What is Howdy Partner? Howdy Partner is our weekly show we do every Wednesday at 2 p.m. where we bring on a different partner from the AWS Partner Network to come on, show us their solutions, show what makes them differentiated, show why they're special. And this week we have a very special guest today. It's Sela Cloud. They're one of our SaaS Factory competency partners. We've had some SaaS partners on before. They're great. We love them to death. I am not a SaaS expert, surprisingly. I might shock you all. But today, as usual, we're going to bring one of our awesome guest co-hosts from AWS. Anthony McClure is going to join us. He is the SaaS Factory expert. Anthony, I'm bringing you up. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic, James, and thank you so much for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be on Howdy Partner and to get this opportunity to sit down with one of our valued partners and really explore what it is that they do and how they help our customers.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and thank you again, because I know, like I just said, I'm the expert, but it's always good to have a second, opinion, second point of view. But
maybe it's just really quickly about the SaaS Factory as well and myself. I've been with the SaaS Factory for 3 years now. I'm a solutions architect, of course, with the team. And the SaaS Factory works with our partners to accelerate SaaS application development, migration, and modernization. We cover all dimensions of an organization's moves into SaaS, spanning business, technical, and cultural transformation as a part of that. Since SaaS is not so simple as I think many may think that it might be when you're first exploring. To this end, we also maintain the SaaS on AWS website, where we have our Insights Hub. You can go out and find all sorts of great resources, best practices, and other content that the SaaS Factories produce to help our customers build SaaS on AWS. And specifically along with that, although we love to work directly with our customers, we really need our partners to help us to accelerate our customers' journey, our partners' journey in this case. And so we have the SaaS competency, where our partners come in and show their expertise and experience again in SaaS, like you were just mentioning with us. And we really consider them like a right hand, right? Or an extension of our own arms, so to speak, to be able to work with our partners and help them to build SaaS. So very excited to be here.
yeah, and just briefly talking about competencies, one of my main responsibilities is doing the technical validations for the different programs that we have. And I always consider the competency programs to be kind of the cream of the crop, like the top. Like, it's a super in-depth review. You have to do case studies, you have to do live reviews, you have to do demos, you have to do. So essentially, anyone who earns an AWS competency designation, you can always consider them kind of the top tier partners. Yeah, for sure. And we'll touch on some more with the SaaS competency stuff once we bring our guests on. Speaking of our guests, we're talking to Sela Cloud. And if they're ready, I'm going to pull them up on screen because, again, I love to hear more opinions than my own. But awesome. Nathan, how are you?
Good.
And Evan. Awesome.
How are you guys doing?
Hot.
I am. Yeah, hot is true. Yes, but I would say, what's the good saying, right? Better than most, not as good as some. That's the way to put it.
Yeah, we were at the New York Summit today, AWS New York Summit. And it was hot. That was the #1 comment on the way out to lunch. So I don't feel like it was that hot, but a couple guys were struggling in the heat. So there you go. So
the air conditioning at the Javits Center was working. So
yes,
you were in there long enough, you forgot how hot it was outside, and we stepped out for lunch in it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, but I guess before we dive deep into this, let's start with a quick intro. Evan, how are you? What do you do at Sela? How long have you been at Sela? How long have you been in Tech Journey? Are you TikTok famous? I mean, anything. Let us know.
I'm not TikTok famous. I've been with Sela for about a year now, a little bit more than a year now. Sela actually acquired the company I was with previously, Foresight Technologies. And I now lead the North American team for Sela. I've been working with AWS for probably 10 years or so now, both in a technical and a business capacity.
Nice, great. And Nathan, how about yourself?
Same deal. I was been with Sela for a little over a year now, and I work with them in the sales marketing alliance partner world. Do a bunch of other stuff too, trumpet player. And also teach AWS at university is kind of a fun thing to do for me, and help organize Indianapolis community group, help put the other community groups together, and just do a bunch of stuff like that. But I love the cloud, and so been with AWS, working with AWS for a while now, and deep in the ecosystem. So yeah, thanks for having us on today, James.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess when it comes to SaaS, I like to kind of bring, like, we have people from all different levels of experience. So I always like to start out with my good question: what is SaaS? And my general definition is always going to be like the most easily understandable to most people is like it's your Gmails, it's your Photoshop account, it's your basically anything you sign up for and log into on a browser that handles some sort of thing for you. And that's usually the most basic way that I can describe it to people who don't know. So I'd love to hear, maybe Nathan first, what is your definition of SaaS?
Yeah, I mean, for me, SaaS is a modern application platform that's built in a way that's very scalable. And so you can, isolate customer data and tenants. It's secure. You can onboard subscribers really well. And that's a modern app built in the cloud, typically built in the cloud. So that's the way I look at it.
How about you, Evan? What's your perspective?
I think you're spot on, James, from the consumer's perspective. But from the perspective of the company who's producing the SaaS application, it's a whole lot more than just the product. It's really a culture. It's the way that they do business. It's the way that they go to market. It's the way that they develop and operate. It's really all encompassing. And I want to kick it over to Anthony because he's the real expert.
Yeah.
I think you said it very, very well there. I'm a technologist at heart, right? I'm an engineer going back way far. So digging into the tech and how to put together SaaS or build out a SaaS application, multi-tenancy and all this, it's all in my lifeblood, and we love to do that. But Evan's point, I think, is a really, really important one. And that is SaaS is first and foremost a business model, not a technology one, right? The technology follows the business. And the organizations that we see that are the most successful in building SaaS, whether it's on AWS or anywhere else for that matter, is that they have a very, very prominent and directed company vision to move themselves in that direction. That transformation that happens when you're moving from traditional product development into SaaS development is sometimes a very difficult one for customers to get through. Pricing and packaging has to change. The compensation structure for your sellers in your organization may change dramatically. You're moving away from packaged software, perhaps, where there's a fixed cost associated with it, and moving towards a subscription-based model, where keeping your customers happy becomes a very, very important aspect. And you may need to build out whole other sections of your organization, not just for customer support, but for customer satisfaction, right? Because we're no longer just selling a product, we're selling a service. And that is a very big distinction.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, especially with like Marketplace, the way you even purchase, different SaaS platforms. It used to be if you bought software, you went to the shelf at Babbage's. Remember Babbage's? And you bought that box off the shelf, and it was like $50, and then you installed it. Now you just go online, subscribe, you're instantly using it, and you never even think, can my server handle this or my machine handle this? You just sign up and start using it from a web browser like James was talking about. But even from a corporate, IT purchasing approach, Marketplace and, the SaaS world has radically changed the way we consume IT spend. One thing I like to talk about is the whole CapEx versus, OpEx in terms of purchasing software and compute services, right? So, you don't have to go buy a piece of hardware, stick it on there. You just subscribe and start using it. So that's a radical transformation.
I think that goes a lot, Nathan, for what you're saying there too, is it's it's a similar value proposition to the cloud in general, right? So when we're talking about the cloud's value prop and moving to cloud and why you move to the cloud, CapEx versus OpEx, comes into play there too. It's a very similar story when we're talking about SaaSification as well.
Yep. We used to, I don't know, I've been in the industry for 20-some years at this point, and like I remember we used to go buy software, right? And you'd have to, or we'd build custom software for people, and you'd have to go, well, where are we going to put this? We have to go buy the infrastructure, procure it, send it up, install it in the server rooms. Somebody has to physically walk in there and put it in, if you're not doing it even remotely. And that was how we did software, and it's amazing how far it's evolved now, So changes the story dramatically. So. All right.
Yeah.
There's also why I think this complexity as well is one of the reasons why. Sorry, James.
Go for it.
This complexity is one of the reasons why. The first thing that I talk to or say when I talk to a customer is, "Are you engaged with a partner?" We at AWS, we want to be able to help you, right? And we can provide a lot of resources to help you get from point A to point B, building out your SaaS solution. Again, we can get into the technology behind that we can geek out about all day long. But you really need somebody, or my suggestion is that you need somebody to kind of hold your hand through that process. And again, not just the development of the tech, but also what it looks like from a business transformation standpoint too, and why it's so important to engage with a SaaS competency partner like yourselves to help them with that process. And I know you've done this dozens of times or more at this point, right?
Well, it's really interesting when you have customers that, let's say they have a software product, but perhaps they run it on their own infrastructure and they're going to run it on AWS. And the number of times you do that, as a vendor, as a software vendor, is a few times, right? But whereas companies like us, we do it all the time, every day, all the time. Different customers, and we can take best practices from all sorts of different kinds of scenarios and apply that, and it really helps. And that's just on the technology and project side, right? But even working with partners on just the AWS program side, there's so many more programs that people have access to. SaaS discovery, right? Marketplace, list and sell, all these different programs that AWS gives to their customers to make their life better, and so partners can take advantage of that through another partner like us, of course, but that's, SaaS discovery. And then of course, all the traditional, AWS programs like migration acceleration program, proofs of concepts. People just aren't aware of all the programs that AWS has, and partners like us, we live and breathe it every day, not just the tech, but how to partner with AWS, how to partner with the SaaS factory, how to get the most out of their efforts, not just their money, but their efforts and time and energy, and the best solution for their customers. So anyway, been a lot of that. So, and yes, we are on the AWS marketplace.
Yeah, I didn't even, this a little bit behind the curtains. We usually prep with some links and stuff before the show. We didn't even look up for the marketplace. You got a nice set of marketplace listings here. This is nice.
We're a managed service provider, so that's something we're happy to help customers with as they progress in their cloud journey. Sometimes in a lot of digital natives or born in the cloud type companies, that's something that they're doing right away. Other companies that are perhaps older or just now getting to the cloud, that's something they haven't experienced before, so they need a little help getting out there, and we can certainly help them do that. But that's, it's a great way, again, to expose another sales channel to your business and your software platform. So, and, there's things on the services side that we do, but there's also a lot of SaaS platforms out there that you can get for your own. So.
Yeah, awesome. Speaking of all the partner network, do you know how long Sela has been? I keep saying Sela. I'm sorry. Sela has been an AWS partner.
Sela has been an AWS partner.
Sela was around before AWS, right?
Well, Sela has existed since before AWS.
Right.
Sela actually began as a training institute. Almost a university based out of Tel Aviv, and they were doing technical boot camps, technical trainings, teaching classes, and eventually, as the cloud came to be, Sela Cloud came to be. And I think we probably joined the partner network like 2017, 2018, something like that, if I had to guess.
Nice. Yeah, that's a while now.
And I'll say we just attained our premier designation a couple weeks ago, I think. So
congratulations on that. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And if anybody is on who's been through that journey, it's not simple. It's simple is not the word I would describe. So
yeah,
James was mentioning, attaining competency is difficult. That's just a small part of what goes into attaining that level of partnership.
Yeah, we went through, having gone through the SaaS competency evaluation. Yeah, certainly there's a ton to do there. In our, we have to demonstrate success in several different areas. Have to have a number of certifications, qualifications, and it's certainly challenging. And then Premier requires multiple of those across different areas of AWS, as well as a lot of growth metrics and things that validate that you're an invested partner in AWS. So, but yeah, our SaaS competency was a big part of that, of course. So, and yes, whoever in chat asked, we are at the New York Summit. So,
yeah, yeah, for real. I wish I could have gone. I love conventions and meeting people. I mean, it's always cool. Technology is great that we were able to do something like this from all over the globe, but just having that face-to-face time once in a while it can't be beat. And so I wish I could have been there.
Yeah. So, and the SaaS factory was there, and so and there were a couple of folks who needed to meet them, and so hopefully they got connected today. So good program. So, but yeah, that comes up a lot. I hear the ISV products as well. Looking at the SaaS factory. So that's always an interesting segue. So. Oh, yeah. Thanks for the info there.
Yeah. Generally speaking, at AWS, there's two kinds. We call ISVs, independent software vendors, and SI, system integrators. In the SI department, we have those three tiers that we kind of touched on a little bit. And yeah, Premier is kind of, again, it's the cream of the crop, like top level. And it's not a simple or quick process to get to that level. So having both, all the competencies and Premier tier is great. That's awesome.
Cool. And I forgot to mention, I should have done this right off the bat. We're doing some giveaway prizes today. So for folks that are listening in chat, every once in a while, I'm going to ask a question. We'll kind of take a break. I'll ask a question, and whoever answers it properly first gets. I think we're handing out a Yeti cup. So now I don't have one here with me, but our team that's on the chat here will get in contact with you. And
oh, there we go.
Oh, Evan's got one. There, awesome.
The blur is killing me.
Yeah, so it's great. It's nice. It wasn't cheap, so it's not some, but we'll get you hooked up, and yes, they are. So cool. Awesome. I'll throw it back to you. So maybe I don't know. We have enough people on that I should ask a question now.
Sure. Yeah, we got looks like almost 50.
All right.
50's pretty good.
Get a question here. All right. So, this is a programming question. I'll give you that much prep time. Okay. So this programming language was developed by Guido van Rossum, and it's known for its readability and simplicity. So type in chat, tell a friend or something, and we'll see what we get there. Does anybody know what the programming language is?
So Rust, Python.
No, Python. Okay, that's a long username. All right. So schizophrenic.
It's a good username.
Web developer.
I knew the web dev would get it. That is an awesome username. I love it.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, Python was it. So, all right. So, I think Sarah or Yosef are on. So maybe they can message you on the chat there and get some contact info to get it over to you. So, all right, cool.
English.
All right. So there we go. One down. Python. Of course, everybody uses Python. Nowadays, especially So cool.
Yeah. The joke is, what is the joke? You're writing pseudocode? No, I'm actually writing Python.
Yeah.
I guess one last thing. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I guess before we move on from the partner stuff, just real quick, what has been your experience since achieving the AWS SaaS competency designation? We've hit on how great it is, how wonderful it is. What has it done for Sela and as part of the partnership?
So I think, historically, even before attaining the SaaS competency, we've worked with a lot of SaaS companies to help them, build a new SaaS platform, migrate an existing platform from on-premise, optimize an existing platform. We had the technical chops, but I think the huge difference that the collaboration with the SaaS team does for us is it really brings the whole SaaS ecosystem. It's not just about the technology, it's about the business, it's about the culture. And allowing our customers to collaborate with the SaaS Factory team gives them a huge leg up as they're trying to build out the business model, and they're trying to change their operations or SaaSify their operations. And the SaaS Factory team is drawing on the incredible success of Amazon, who's running one of the largest as a service businesses in the world. They know how to do it. So I think for us, being able to take our customers, let them draw on that experience, it really accelerates their journey, saves them a lot of heartache in some cases.
I may have a quick follow-up to that, maybe, too, Evan, and that is, SaaS being as complex as it is, and all of the effort that Sela has done to earn the competency, and the effort that you put in and working with us to do that, would you say that competency has helped your organization as well? And in other words, do you feel like attaining the competency, is as a goal for your organization has helped you in that process of growing?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the SaaS Factory has a lot to offer, from a technical perspective that really allows us to accelerate implementations for our customers. There's a lot of experience that we can draw on, from the technical side as well. The work that other SaaS partners are doing, the work that the solutions architects at AWS are doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. It definitely. I think I see it help. The accelerators are great. I've had a couple people who are doing startups, right? And they're building a software platform. I'm like, are you thinking SaaS yet? And a lot of times people start and they'll build something and it's rather monolithic because they're just building a POC, getting it out the door. And and that's a common startup. But now you're starting to think about the kinds of features, the kind of business model that you can engage if you have a real SaaS platform. So going for those toolkits, engaging the programs, maybe thinking about your FinOps in terms of how you're mapping cost to different features, to different tenants, cost, and seeing what your ROI is. That's a very different thing that you can do today that maybe you couldn't 10, 20 years ago. So it's there's a lot of thinking there. It's not just, oh, let's build this cool software. Let's think about how we're going to go to market with this and how we're going to sell this as well. So.
Yeah, and you just mentioned FinOps, and I just pulled up one of our good old links here.
Yeah, I find that or we do find that often customers, maybe they're really good at building software and maybe they haven't really incorporated FinOps from the onset, and that's certainly something we can help with our customers as they migrate to the cloud. It's not just cost savings, right? It's also what are you investing your time, effort, and energy to on the cloud that's going to return the biggest investment, and that's make the biggest return on your investment. And that's a lot of cloud economics.
Speaking of that as well, Nathan, because I know you've talked about this with us in the past, that you find cloud economics and looking at the operation, the FinOps that goes along with it, is a good way for you to be able to just immediately dive in and find areas within an organization where you can have immediate impact, but also open up potentially additional funds, whether it's from the cost savings from the FinOps whether it's from all of these different packages and capabilities that exist within the AWS sphere of influence, I should say, that you can help bring them to. But you actually, I think, have found this as a way that you can get in and actually assist customers and even get some of it paid for, right? As part of the process.
Yeah, we certainly have that offering as part of our managed service agreement with customers. We'll offer those ongoing FinOps reviews, ongoing architecture reviews, and that's really important from a operating your SaaS platform properly. It's interesting how much we pick up on and see, because we're constantly looking at all these different environments that we know to look for, that we're trained to look for, that a customer who's used to looking, at their own, their one window into the world. And so not only from an architecture standpoint, but also from a financial operations standpoint on their SaaS platform. So we love to help customers, whether it's whether they're ready to engage in an EDP, or whether they just need general FinOps reviews. We have a tooling that we use that we give our customers that's part of that. And often customers may not have any sort of tool. Maybe they're a new or a startup and they've just really started to scale, and now they're starting to think, oh, I need to really monitor costs and whatnot. We have not only the the Insight professional services, the teams that do this all day, bunches of different environments. It's all they do, and but we have tooling too that helps customers. And so obviously, we try to help them as much as we can there. So
yeah, you mentioned startups and being able to be financially optimized. It seems like I guess the urban legend culture of startups is you get tons of money, there's parties everywhere, you're throwing money all over the place, and then 6 months later you're out of money. So if you don't start with that mindset, it can run out. And so just starting with that financial optimization is going to be helpful in the long run. Like it's better to start with it than have to shift to it, but you do what you have to.
And I know we've talked about startups here, but who is kind of your target customer that you're looking for, Nathan and Evan? I'm sure who wants to take this one, but yeah, who do you like to work with? Who's kind of your target?
We definitely like SaaS companies. We like to work with customers where we can provide value. So customers that we can work with long term. And it doesn't necessarily matter whether they're, a very mature company who's been offering SaaS for a long time, or, a brand new startup building a new platform, taking it to market. But, for us, it's customers where, we're able to provide value. We're able to have a really good collaboration. We're able to work together long term.
Yeah. Yeah. It's to tag onto that, if your startup is really just a time, and I know that's a loaded term. What's a startup mean? But a startup is just somebody who hasn't been around too long, generally speaking. But that doesn't mean they're not already, a fairly mature software, pretty big platform. So, we take all sorts of different customers from, what may be considered a startup, but all the way to pretty mature platforms that, are very, very commonly named. I think we have some of those. We could probably post in the chat there if you want to look at some of the case studies, but every customer is a little different. A lot of times when they're starting up, maybe they're digital native, so obviously they don't need to migrate to get their SaaS platform in the cloud. They're already there. But on the other hand, you may have a customer, a very mature software platform, and all of a sudden they're trying to modernize, and okay, they need to go to the cloud and do a whole bunch of re-engineering. So, there's great programs, again, at AWS, like ISV transformation, and different analysis project to come up with those plans, and highly recommend taking care of that. Yeah, iBerry is a good case study I always talk about. People probably get tired of me hearing about it from me, but they were in the cloud and fairly monolithic. But what we did with that SaaS platform, it's a really cool story. They use AI and ML components built on AWS to capture the media that's streamed during mobile mental health evaluations. And so we capture the software, AWS captures that. We help the clinicians who are interviewing them and get a good score. So we generate this dashboard out of the different streams we get. And then that helps them assess whether or not that patient may have suicidal tendencies, depression, anxiety, some different mental health concerns. And the cool story about this is that's a good scenario where we started backwards. We didn't necessarily build this cool AI ML widget and then figure out where we could use it. The customer needed a good way to kind of change the way that healthcare worked for their mental health patients. How do we triage them as they come in? How do we evaluate them? What's a more human way to do that? For instance, who likes to be handed a form as soon as you walk in and talk to a doctor? You sit down and fill it out. Well, in this case, they do an interview on the phone or from a web browser, and they're able to capture that stream. We're able to do that same level of analysis that the form does, but do it in a way that's much more patiently friendly and accessible. So pretty cool story. I think I've talked a little bit at this point, but yeah, anyway, if there's any of our engineers on the line checking this, they can feel free to chime in on chat. So.
Yeah, I relate to that a lot. I mean, every time, it feels like every time you go to the doctor's office or the dentist, even if you've been a patient there for years and years and years, 9 times out of 10, oh, we need you to fill out a form. We need you to do a survey. We need you to, yeah. So if they could just talk to me and it would kind of fill it out for themselves, that would be cool.
Yeah, just scan my implant.
Yeah, there you go.
But a pretty cool story because they're, one, they needed to implement a very proprietary algorithm that had to be highly accurate, but they also needed to be able to scale well. And that was more the challenge there too. So,
yeah. Again, I mean, there was a lot of challenges there, right? I mean, because also it's a highly regulated industry. You're dealing with health science at this point.
Yep.
I mean, there's so much that goes into that. So the engineering is so critical.
Yep.
And then on top of that, you're talking about a SaaS platform, right? So you got multi-tenancy involved and all of the challenges that come along with multi-tenancy as well. So yeah, it's a very strong case study and a very strong success story, which I think is an important part to tell as well, how successful it was.
Yep. So 80% of patients 80% of patients preferred that to the traditional method. The traditional method being fill out a form. And it was shown in clinically reviewed, peer-reviewed clinical study to be as effective or more than the current gold standard. So those forms and that kind of ingestion approach and the way it was analyzed, this was at least as good or better. And that was like a study that was just published last year, I want to say July. So it's validated to work is what's cool. The other thing is it reduced, all the agility problems they had. So they could deploy faster. If the data scientists want to change the way that model works and test a new one and deploy it, they can do it pretty much as fast as they want to. It's not instantaneous, but they can switch it out and deploy it. So that's incredibly powerful, especially when you're dealing with data that has to be very accurate, and and results that have to be very accurate. So
cool. Yeah. So. I was going to ask, what do you see? We kind of talked about startups. You guys work really well with private equity and VCs, venture capitalists. How does that work, and what is kind of your experience working with your own venture capitalists in Tel Aviv? How does that relationship built? How does that give you special insights into those kind of mindsets and that startup culture and such?
Yeah, I think, we're venture capital owned, so we definitely have a lot of firsthand experience for, the type of acceleration that they expect, the speed of delivery that they expect, and the rapid results that they're looking for. And, I think that gives us a little bit of understanding of our customers when they're getting funded, and working through these growing pains, especially young SaaS companies where they've received this funding. They're now expected to deliver a working product or a working platform really quickly, and young company, they may not have the staff, the knowledge, the processes to be able to do that. And between us and the SaaS factory at AWS, we're able to help them really get the platform off the ground, get something into production, start to generate revenue.
Cool. And then, so when you're working with these, what is the most common kind of segments do you see with these VCs or private equity? Do you see, like we're talking about FinOps, or what kind of work do you generally have to do? Gen AI, IML, ISV, etc. Like, what do you usually see when working with them?
Definitely Gen AI is huge right now. But we also see a lot of healthcare, a lot of fintech, a lot of cybersecurity. Yeah,
security. We always say that my security is job zero, and my running joke is that so that means we don't have to worry about it, right?
Job null.
Yeah, but zero. If you're any good programmer that's not working in whichever, I forget which language starts at 1, but we all know that arrays start at 0. So that's my joke from that one.
Yeah, PE firms are great because like Evan said, right? They need to really increase the value of a software that they own, right? And they want to get their money back out of their investment, so they're thinking rapid growth or unlock the growth potential of their platform. So how do we remove the technical obstacles and change their model, the way that they do business, so that they're selling at the speed in the way that a modern system does? So sometimes you've got a PE that's bought a company and they're just getting the money out of it that they can for some time, but now they've got somebody that they really want to take it to the next level. How do you do that? A lot of, it's not just have the right software product that people like to use. It's more than that.
Yeah. Maybe you can hit on one of the other case studies. For example, Didify. We have a blog post that we jointly published, both AWS and Sela. Maybe you can speak to that just a little bit.
Yeah, Evan, do you want to hit that? It's serverless control planes. So,
yeah, pretty cool use case, pretty cool customer success story. These guys had built a really cool low-code, no-code development platform, but it was deployed in such a way that it really, really wasn't scalable, and it really wasn't reliable. They were having a lot of issues with downtime, a lot of issues with one customer overloads their tenant and takes down the whole system for everybody. And the platform getting to the point where they just couldn't deploy more tenants because they had so little capacity. So we ended up building a pretty cool control plane for them that actually deployed dedicated infrastructure per customer within AWS, really focused on not just the scalability and reliability of all that, but also, the security, the customer isolation, and most importantly for a SaaS company, the cost per customer. Because if we're deploying huge infrastructure per customer and they're charging $30 for a subscription, each one costs $32. That's not a great business. So, we worked with the customer, figure out how to right size the infrastructure for each customer to keep the cost low, keep the margins right, while still ensuring a high level of security and isolation between customers. The solution technically is very cool. I won't bore everybody with that, but definitely check out the blog post. The Sela team put together some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that sounds.
I have a quick follow up on that one too, if you don't mind, James. So you mentioned, of course, going in, you're talking to a customer here who had some cost consciousness, which I think, of course, most do these days, right? And I've always seen that there's a bit of hesitance, I think, from companies to engage with a partner based on that, right? They're already dealing with cost consciousness. They're afraid of how much it will cost to work with a consultancy, let's say, or maybe they've been burned in the past, right? And from working with partners or consultants as well. What is your approach really when you're going into a customer like this one for this case study, which is cost conscious, and how do you help them to or get past those initial fears and objections and be able to start working with them?
Yeah. So, in the case of this customer specifically, we leveraged the Jumpstart funding program from Amazon, and that allowed the customer to get effectively dollar for dollar match from Amazon to pay for our services. So
fantastic. Yeah.
We gave them a price for the project. Amazon paid 50% of the bill. But there's a lot of programs like that, not just Jumpstart, but throughout the AWS ecosystem, and especially within the SaaS Factory team, there's a lot of programs we can leverage to get funding from AWS to help our customers build with a partner's help.
Yeah. And I think maybe that's one way that maybe we're different from other partners is we almost always attach some sort of program that AWS provides to the work that you're doing. So, if our partner comes in and says, hey, we're doing, we need to modernize this application, this SaaS platform, right? In the case of Didify, they hit a growth wall because they couldn't scale one way or the other, and they needed all this isolation, and they needed to quickly onboard subscribers so that they could scale and sell. So, they needed to transform their business model from being sales throttled. Well, we're going to go and we're going to work with the AWS partners, the SaaS Factory, et cetera, to go find out what's the best way for them to approach this so that AWS is invested, they're invested, and they've got a partner who's done this that's, invested as well. And that can change the way and also lower their resistance to try something that they view maybe a little dangerous, right? This is their baby. They don't want to radically change it. But if they've got AWS themselves working on it, the SaaS Factory themselves with eyes on it, and a partner who's done this, that gives them a little more comfort that they can try something because everybody's got some chips on the table there. So it's a fantastic way to go in terms of how to approach modernizing, unleashing your system from its restraints. So.
And the challenge is such a large ecosystem to be within, right? I mean, we mentioned a few different programs here that people may have not even ever heard of before that have been with AWS for a long time. And look, we absolutely love our account teams. We love our account managers. I think they do yeoman's work, right? Really out there helping our customers on a day-to-day basis. But to really get that personalized attention and really understand what's going on, that's where the partnerships, I think, really come in, and having competency partners such as yourselves acting as that trusted resource that we know that we can always go to and show to our customers, to our AWS customers, as being, these are the go-to guys, right? These are the folks to work with to take you where you want to get to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe a good segue from this Didify project as well, Anthony, is cost consciousness in the professional services, but also in the infrastructure. One of the really unique challenges about all SaaS companies, and especially this project, is understanding what is our cost per customer. Because we're building this platform, all these customers are using it, and in the case of Didify, we have certain infrastructure components that are being shared among many customers, and we have certain infrastructure components that are unique to a customer. And those that are unique, it's easy to allocate cost, but where they're shared, we need to understand, hey, is one customer 50% of the cost on this thing? So one of the things that we spent a lot of time on during that project was building systems and metrics that allow us to determine what is the real cost on a per tenant basis, based on how much it's utilizing the cloud resources.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic point, Evan. If I was to say, just from my own experience, in hearing from customers time and time again, there's a couple of things that always come up, right? Cost per tenant is one that almost always is a question that comes up. How do we do it? And there's no magic answer to that question, right? There's a combination of many different things that we can try to put together to answer that. Very important question, but how do you do it? And then the other one is as well, you know, how do we handle all of these issues that come up in SaaS now that we didn't deal with before in the multi-tenancy aspects, like hearing new words and verbiage like noisy neighbor. You know, what does that mean, and how do I handle it? So, you know, it's a very important point. Sorry, I cut you off there, Nathan. I think
No, it's all good. No, noisy neighbor is a great thing. Didify is a great example of how to, you know, one way to solve that. But if, to go back to your comments on the, you know, the financial metrics, right? There's every SaaS company's in product is a little different, right? And so the companies who are zeroing in on that, you know, the tenant level, maybe there's a specific feature, you know, that they're really trying to see, are we getting value out of this? You know, we built this awesome, cool Gen AI chatbot on our SaaS platform. Are we getting a return out of it? Right. You know, so it's not always just the cost, but what's the return? So changing the way people think, oh yeah, that chatbot's expensive. You know, well, maybe that expense is okay because it just generated a whole bunch of leads for us. You know, and that's the kind of metric.
And how important how important is that, you know, in your experience working, you know, being VC funded yourselves, working with private equity, how important is it to have that data to be able to take to the private equity groups and say, you know, we know what we're talking about here?
Yeah, you can ask Evan that question. So.
Yeah, I think the amount of time I spent generating reporting increased exponentially.
But that's, you know, that goes to, what is it, the Werner Vogel's quote or somebody's quote? I don't know who said this, so I apologize if I don't properly attribute it, but every engineering decision is now a purchasing decision, right? When you're building something, it's an engineer, you know, it's a purchasing decision too. That purchasing has been democratized so much over the last 50, 100 years, you know, 100 years, but 50 years, right? You know, you're not buying mainframes, you know, you're not buying client server farms, you're subscribing to services in the cloud and they all cost different. And people are starting to learn that as they've built, you know, some of these AI ML SaaS features into their products, right? Oh, that's awesome. Boy, it's really kind of expensive and it's kind of more than we really want to spend. So that's a good thing, right? They're tracking that expense, but there's less expensive ways to do things. We've had, you know, some customers where they've built something out on a certain model. It was overkill for what they needed to do. There was a lot less expensive way to go. And so, you know, that could be part of your
shortcut. There's no shortcut for experience, right? Another great quote.
Yeah, but that's part of the ongoing. Yeah, it's part of the ongoing evolution in monitoring and managing your platform. So,
I think, you know, the failure of engineering can be a purchasing decision as well. You know, now that we have elasticity in the cloud, you know, hey, some bad code caused this infrastructure to scale way up, and now we're spending a lot of money. Or, you know, even more specific to SaaS, you know, the noisy neighbor problem didn't affect the neighbors because of that elasticity, but now that tenant that's paying $30 a month is costing us $10,000.
Yeah, and you better be able to understand that and recognize that very quickly, right?
Yeah.
And
now your customers can make purchasing decisions for you.
Exactly.
I literally had that scenario today. I was talking to somebody, and they have a feature that they have free to use to clients. Well, they found out their clients were using it. It's free, fantastic feature, but all of a sudden they were able to make some configurations on that feature that cost a ton of money. Their feature drives like some, you know, instance type selections, etc. And they picked some big ones. Well, the big ones are super expensive, right?
Of course.
So now they're like, oh my gosh, that's going to cost me a lot of money. Is it worth it? You know, so now they have to figure out, well, maybe it's okay because we got all this revenue and new clients out, right? But maybe it's not, and we need to figure out how to make it less expensive and still available. So, or maybe it shouldn't be free. You know, that's a different type of question than can we make this elastic? Because they figured that one out. So
yeah, it's always a question. Maybe you could, at that point, it's such a great thing. Maybe you could have tiers to it. Maybe a free tier that maybe a paid tier, like a subscription type tier.
I thought they were doing really well because they knew this feature was driving the cost that they got on their bill so much. So I was like, well, you already know this much. That means you're in a pretty good spot, at least in terms of where your cost is coming from. You know, it's this feature and it's these kind of situations. So they've done a good job there.
Yeah. Let me just take a break real quick. I'm going to welcome everyone. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Howdy Partner. And if you're just tuning in, where were you an hour ago? We started without you. My name is James Spencer. I'm a Partner Solutions Architect at AWS with my co-host, Anthony McClure. He is a Solutions Architect at the AWS SaaS Factory. Today we are talking to Evan and Nathan from Sela Cloud. They are some of our partners here at the AWS Partner Network. Our show, Howdy Partner, is one that highlights different partners. We are on every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, and we bring on partners to talk about what differentiates them, what makes them great, how they can help solve your problems, either with their, for example, their SaaS integrations, their SaaS building, or their software products, other different solutions. And also, this gives me a chance. It wouldn't be an AWS show without our survey. I dropped it in the chat. Please take a survey. It takes you 10 seconds to complete. Help us. Let us know what you like. Let us know you want to see more of. Let us know if you want to see more or less of me. You know, I'm open to criticism. But anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I will turn it back over to Sela and Anthony.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it's a good chance to go off in a little bit of a different topic here, because as I've been working with Sela and Nathan and Evan as a part of SaaS Competency, I have noticed too that you are very active in the community, and I think that's a fantastic thing. Both for the community at large and just, you know, for the experience I think that you bring to the larger AWS community itself. For instance, I know that you were recently, I think, involved and won, if I if I have my information correctly, the EMEA AI Jam competition, right? There was more recent, and Birdie tells me too, maybe even with a perfect score. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It's YC's on the chat. It was our engineering gurus. So
yeah, a group of engineers from the U.S. team and from our team in Israel got together, and my understanding is that they did in fact achieve a perfect score, which doesn't so much surprise me. But you know, I'll add too that the U.S. team woke up at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, certainly congratulations on that. That's really cool.
I was going to say I've never heard of one of these jams. What goes into the scoring mechanism like for this? I've done game jams like back in college, but we didn't have we just did votes. Like we like this one the best.
My understanding is that the teams were presented with various challenges they had to utilize AWS to solve different problems or build certain solutions, and it was both speed and accuracy.
Those are some good metrics.
Yeah. Here's an important point too that I always like to bring out to our potential customers and potential customers of our partners. This is a very fine example though of hands-on keyboard, right? This is something that our partners can do for you and with you as AWS customers that I, as a solutions architect, can't. So, I can help you with architecture. I can talk AWS all day with you. I can come up with diagrams and put it all down for you. But Sela can actually help make that happen. And as you just heard, make it happen in the best possible way possible. So yeah, that's great and a good example.
Yeah, Anthony, I know. I love working with our partners, but it's always kind of, I don't know the right word, hard for me. I can't get hands on keyboard. Like it's just not a thing for us specifically.
It's painful sometimes for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I can be your trusted advisor. I can guide you through stuff. I can literally go on working sessions with you. I literally can't get on hands on keyboard for you just due to all sorts of ramifications. But that's a perfect chance for some of our partners, such as Sela, to actually jump in with you and build those things. And speaking of partners, if there's different funding opportunities we have across in the APN, we have POC funding, sandbox funding. When you work with partners, a lot of times you can get credits or incentives to working with them. So it's kind of a win-win all around, working specifically with our partners, which is great.
Yeah, there's a lot of partner funding programs that just aren't available unless you work with a partner. That's how it goes. So that's, so you get expertise, you get support from AWS, not just in, financial side, but also the oversight. Every time we do one of these projects, AWS is working with us to check out our plans, check out the client's plans, and just kind of running it by extra sets of eyes. And there's always something, right? There's always something. So it's good to, get, people that have been there, done that, and do this all the time to kind of give you an extra set of eyes. So,
yeah.
Back on the community questions. Yeah, you also presented at the Midwest Community Day just recently as well, which is an AWS event. Is that correct? Yeah.
So I do. I run the Indianapolis user group community. We run maybe 20 to 50 AWS. Enthusiasts, we meet once a month. So shout out to Indie AWS peeps. I also help organize the Midwest Community Group, which is about as close to an AWS summit as you'll get in the Midwest right now. We used to have one in Chicago, but that was a few years ago. But it's all run by the AWS user community. So AWS, yes, they were a gold sponsor, and thank you very much. But it's run by the community group leaders. So shout out to Margaret in Chicago, and Kathy in Cleveland, and Angelo in Columbus. We had it at Columbus, and it's a lot like a summit. We'll have a breakfast. We have speakers all day. It's a great way to get speaking experience if you want to be a speaker. It's a lot easier to get in one of those than, say, an AWS summit, certainly in reInvent in particular. A lot of the community group is sharing ideas. So we share them locally with our local community groups, and then we share them, at these community group meetups, and then we, share them at reInvent. We share them at summits. So it's a great way. Of course, it's a lot of fun to put those on, and then support AWS, and of course support what people are doing. It's amazing what people are doing. So, yep. So on that note, I've got another question, and I mentioned this person's name earlier. Not in relation to the question I'm going to ask, but here's another Yeti prize giveaway. So first person to type, and we won't count spelling. I think we can be okay with that. So this is multiple choice. So, and these are the answers I have. So he is known as the father of the computer for his design of the analytical engine. So he's known as the father of the computer for the design of the analytical engine. So there's 4 options. Option A, Alan Turing. Option B, Tim Berners-Lee. Option C, Charles Babbage. Option D, John von Neumann.
There was a relatively recent movie about this, and it was really pretty good.
That's a good tricky list, though, Nathan. Yeah, that was a good list.
This is a little harder, So.
All right.
Any takers?
Not yet. We'll leave them with that. If you're the first one to answer correctly, hit up Nathan, and he might have something for you.
Yeah. Giving away Yeti. So Turing, Berners-Lee, Babbage, or Neumann? No, von Neumann. So, all right.
So
I said their name earlier. So.
We have someone saying C.
Babbage?
No. Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah, it's Babbage's. Yep. There you go. All right.
And who do they get in contact with?
Sarah's. If you scroll up, Sarah put something in chat. She might do it again. But yeah, it was Charles Babbage. So, and I'm old enough to remember when you used to go to Babbage's at the mall and buy flipping software off the shelf. So,
I remember Babbage's
game.
Yep.
So, but what movie was it, Evan?
Well, Yehuda asked that, and I was thinking the answer was Alan Turing, and I was thinking of that movie. So
that's what I thought too.
Somebody has to take my Yeti away.
I thought it was going to be Turing.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, James.
Yeah, I just didn't want to say it because in case I was right. But it turns out it didn't matter because I was wrong. So anyway.
Yeah, Turing's inference engine was after Babbage's. Yeah, but he used a lot of that.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
Should have probably had a father of AI question or the mother.
Yeah, oh, that would be a good one. Sure.
Yeah, I don't think I probably know it after you say it, but cool. Like, so we kind of touched on modernization earlier, and I'm a containers guy. I love containers. So when it comes to modernization of kind of like monolithic applications, I've heard that Sela likes to use containers, and they like to use ECS. God bless you. What is kind of can you tell us the mindset? We keep talking about a culture and a mindset of using ECS versus EKS versus anything else. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. So, I think in the context of SaaS, the technology isn't necessarily as important as the outcome.
Yep. Agree.
And, the SaaS companies need to be able to innovate quickly. They need to be able to make changes without large impacts. They need to ensure that their application has a whole lot of uptime and that their customers can get to it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with EKS or ECS. There's a lot of use cases where you have to use EKS because ECS can't handle it. But if you're building a brand new application or you're modernizing an existing application and you're doing it well, ECS should be able to run it. And, Kubernetes is great, but there's a lot of operational overhead. And especially in organizations where they may not have a platform engineering team and they may not have a whole bunch of CKAs on their team already, where we're introducing them to the cloud or helping them deploy their first SaaS platform on the cloud, ensuring that the platform is going to be reliable, it's going to be resilient, and it's going to scale well, while ensuring that the customers are able to stay really focused on developing their product and not worry too much about managing infrastructure, where it can be avoided, is really our goal. And to that end, I think the simplicity of ECS is a huge benefit.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. Kubernetes itself, it can be, it's a whole beast on it. I mean, you can get certified for just Kubernetes. I mean, for the love of God, So being able to have your containers in a more managed platform for what you said, if you don't have that Kubernetes expert, definitely is going to be a boon if that's the choice you want to make going towards containers for sure.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of reasons to use it. Don't get me wrong. But, we hear from a lot of customers too, hey, we want to modernize our application. Okay. Does that mean, you want to start breaking out microservices, or does that mean you want to jam your Java application into a Docker image and deploy it on a container orchestration platform? And a lot of times the answer is the latter. And that's great. It's a heck of a lot better than running it the old school way.
Yeah.
But if we're running one service, why do we need Kubernetes?
Yeah, I was going to say, at what point does I feel like the Raptor or whatever it was, where it's like, if I put my monolith into one container, is it really a microservice or something like that?
Exactly. And for a lot of organizations, as they scale up and they have a lot of independent teams who are building independent components, if they're not going to make the investment into having platform engineering and a dedicated team to manage those Kubernetes clusters, they're going to end up with a whole lot of teams managing a whole lot of separate Kubernetes clusters, or a situation in which your engineering teams become each other's noisy neighbors on that cluster, and it can lead to a lot of issues. So I think the isolation of ECS is a benefit in those cases as well.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of breaking stuff apart, what's the best advice you can give on how I can convince my company to modernize and potentially break stuff apart?
If you're trying to convince Amazon to modernize and break stuff apart, good luck.
Well, my hypothetical, my startup that they're in the other room right now. They're listening in, trying to get tips.
Yeah, I think, technology and infrastructure for SaaS is not one size fits all. The microservices architecture is not always better than a monolithic architecture. A serverless architecture is not always better than a containerized architecture. I would say, focus on things that are real problems. If you've got security problems or scalability problems, and then focus on delivering value for your customers. Especially as a young SaaS company, you're going to have limited resources. I would say, find the technology solution that is the simplest and is not going to be technical debt down the road. But don't focus on doing the things that are cool or the latest and greatest because it seems fun, which it will be, but you may expend a lot more resources on it.
And you just made me think of something when you said that. Have you ever encountered where a customer might be looking to modernize or optimize or something, and you do, like, when you do a review and you're like looking at their stuff, and you do notice like a fundamental like security issues or whatever, and then you're like, whoa, like, we get that you want to optimize or you want to move to containers, but we need to take a step back and kind of do these fundamentals. Have you ever encountered that? And maybe tell us what that was like.
Definitely. And sometimes that's an opportunity to, take a modernization approach as well. Like if there are components that have problems and we know that they're problems within a monolith, and we know that we're moving towards a microservices architecture, we can say, let's prioritize these, break these out of the monolith first, modernize them, fix them, make them better, solve the problem. We don't necessarily have to do one giant modernization. We can take out bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, I think people forget that security is a feature of their product too sometimes. And it's not just like something you have to do because you don't want to get hacked. It's having strong security reputation and being a platform that is secure is a selling point on your product. And it's not just something to defend yourself. It's a product feature.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's my parents, like, for example, they won't sign up for stuff sometimes just based on the reputation of, there was this product got leaked, this company got hacked, whatever. And it absolutely is not just, as we're saying, a technological thing or security. It's a selling point. Like, I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah, you could market it. We've never been, nothing went wrong ever.
Well, that might invite too much attention, but but yeah, I mean, in AWS, I think AWS of all the cloud vendors has the best reputation there for sure. The security and reliability of the platform. I just don't think it could be beat. And especially as AI comes on the space and people think about, I don't want to share my data out here. I don't want to. I think AWS in particular has maintained a really strong reputation in being able to do that.
And then
haven't deleted their customers' accounts accidentally. So
yes.
Oh no, I've never done that.
Yeah.
I didn't say we didn't do that, Anthony. I said AWS didn't. Just kidding. We never did that.
You mentioned AI, for example, AI/ML there. So just segueing into that, what is some of these specific, everyone wants to jump on the AI train, specifically Gen AI, but what are some of the specific challenges when trying to implement AI/ML features into SaaS platforms or new SaaS, for new SaaS customers?
Yeah, I think there's maybe two two things kind of come to mind for me. The first one is, products that are AI products, and brand new SaaS company, they're selling an AI product. And the thing that I'm keep seeing is the cost of running the platform. I've had a few conversations where customer says, man, we're running a $300,000 a month bill for inferencing. Okay. How much revenue do you have? $250,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So this seems bad, right? So I would say that, the cost of the infrastructure is definitely a big problem that needs to be solved right now. And, everybody's working towards it. Those inferencing costs are going down every week. But from a SaaS business perspective, I think it's incredibly important to figure out what is the cost per inference, or what is the cost per tenant, or whatever your model is. Make sure that you're building the business in the right way, you're pricing the product correctly, or you're optimizing the infrastructure as much as you need to in order to ensure you're actually going to turn a profit. The other end of that is existing SaaS platforms, existing products where they want to integrate AI, and truthfully, it's not even a technical problem. It's more of a, how are we actually going to use AI? How are we going to deliver value? What's really the use case that AI is going to solve? And one of the cool things we've been able to do with our AWS partnership is leverage resources from the SaaS factory or other teams at AWS to have these conversations and ideation sessions with customers, and really understand the product, and work together to whiteboard use cases and figure out how could we use AI to make this product better, or have a better customer experience, or deliver additional value.
Yeah. I would say right tool for the right job, even though AI might be might be the new kid in school. Maybe it's not the right, you just said it, maybe it's not the right use case. Like everyone, you always want to, map things out and make sure, but I'm sure you've run into times where you had to tell someone, like, you want to do this, but it's not the right use case. It's not the revenue is not feasible. It's not the right fit.
Yeah, we get that one too. We want to use Gen AI to solve this problem, and I don't think you need Gen AI. You need like a case statement.
Yeah.
Or
never solve with machine. Never solve
machine learning.
Never solve something with machine learning that you can solve with traditional programming. Right? It is a losing proposition unless it is the appropriate use case for machine learning.
Yeah.
I think that's common. That's all the hype right now, but it's a lot of times, not every you can't really drive a screw with a hammer, right? But if you're a carpenter and that's a tool you have, and a lot of times that's what people gravitate to. So sometimes you've got engineers, this is how I know what to do now. How can I do this versus working backwards? What's the customer need? How can we solve this? And can we think outside of the way that we normally solve it now with AI? Is there a feature in AI that can help us here? Versus we always have to, we got to use AI for this use case. Well, maybe. So,
and I think you're spot on, Nate. It's Gen AI is amazing, and it can solve so many problems, and it probably can solve the problem you're talking about. But you might be using a bar of gold to drive a nail.
Yeah.
I like the way to put that. Yeah,
that's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll solve your problem, but yeah, I like that. Cool.
All right, I've got another question here. How about I throw this one down? All right, so this is what I have for the answer here. So this company created the first website and web server. So answer this, get a Yeti. This company created the first website and web server, and I'll give you 4 options: Microsoft, CERN, Google, or IBM. Microsoft, CERN, Google, or IBM. Of course, this would have been years ago before Amazon was invented. Otherwise, they would have been first, right? So,
develop the first website? Is that what the question was?
Website and web server.
Web server and website?
Yeah.
It's not Al Gore? Oh, did I say that out loud?
No, he invented the whole internet.
Bad joke.
Not just not the first website. Yeah, so Microsoft, CERN, CERN, Google or IBM.
For,
Everybody's furiously typing this into Google right now, aren't they?
and for the under 20 somethings that are on here, Al Gore about it back in the day. He was a politician who claimed to he made a statement to the effect of inventing the internet, and it was kind of a meme before memes were a thing. So
he worked at DARPA or worked with DARPA, so
yeah,
but it was really funny.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't. That's a good question.
Well,
I don't even know.
Times in, we'll get them hooked up with the Yeti, or we can keep going. So
yeah,
that's a tougher one. So I didn't know until I read that. I'm like, interesting.
So yeah, well, while people are busy Googling, maybe we can just continue here with some of the stuff. I'm curious about Sela itself. Like, so can you talk about some of your like, how did you start? Like, we talk about startups and acquisitions, and how did, like, what kind of advice and what kind of mindset do you have for those kind of things, like things that might not be in your control in that way, or your personal experience with your own startups, so things like that?
Yeah, I think, for us, it was really about picking something and being really good at it. I see a lot of young companies who try to do 4 or 5 things, and 1 or 2 people can't do 4 or 5 things really, really well. Focus on one thing, get really, really good at it, absolutely crush that thing before you start doing the second thing. And for us, that was really the way that we scaled. When we were Foresight, we were acquired by Sela, and when we started Foresight, we didn't take any investment money, we didn't borrow any money, we didn't invest our own money. We just worked for free and started delivering value for customers, and we really didn't do any marketing or sales for a long time. Our customers told other customers, and people just kept knocking at our door asking for more. And I think we scaled up to like 25 people before we ever even attempted to do sales or marketing, just because we could deliver real value for customers, so much so that they wanted to tell other people about it.
Yeah, that's cool. I've never done that myself, so it's interesting to hear about. And then, what's it like going through a merger and being acquired by a global? I wish I could have someone knock on my door and say, "Hey, you're so special that we'd love to buy you." That must, even if the numbers aren't right, it's got to be some sort of at least an ego boost at minimum to be like, "Wow, like we're raising eyebrows."
As a funny aside, I went on vacation to Bora Bora with my girlfriend at the time. Now she's my wife. But I don't know what the time difference is, but it's huge. And some phone number calls me in the middle of the night, and I ignore it. And they call me again, and I ignore it. They call me again, and take my phone and I walk outside. And, what do you want? It's the guy from New York who's trying to buy us. And they
That's a cool story.
But the integration is challenging. The acquisition is a lot of work, and assimilating 2 separate companies is definitely a challenge. But I think in the end, what we really wanted out of that acquisition was an acceleration of our own growth. We kept saying during the time, 1 + 1 = 3, and I think really that's what we've achieved out of that acquisition. Is it's really accelerated our business here, and I think the addition of the U.S. team to Sela globally has accelerated their business as well. Really the end result is we can deliver additional value for our customers. We can do more. We can do it faster.
Those are two good things. More and faster. Awesome. So speaking of, like, what are some of the things on the roadmap? Is there anything big coming for Sela? Are there any events, any new features, any new products, any new thing you all would like to throw out there and plug, or give us a little insight into?
We're working on a Gen AI competency. We should have that wrapped up pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
You know, we were really focused on that premier tier thing for quite some time. We finally got over the hump with that, so that was really exciting for us. We recently became a provider of partner-led enterprise support, which is a really cool thing for our customers. You know, they're able to get the same SLAs that they would get from AWS enterprise support, 15 minutes on critical issues, without paying the exorbitant AWS enterprise support fees.
It's a nice program.
You know, it's actually the same price as, we're selling it for the same price as business support. But instead of an hour SLA, you're getting 15 minutes.
But does it come with a TAM?
No.
It comes with a TAM from Sela.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't.
Not an AWS TAM on site, but
yeah.
Is that being
good.
offered?
Well, it's really
Evan,
good for those customers.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for those customers who aren't there to where they needed AWS TAM on site, right? There's a gap somewhere from you just start on AWS to where you need that enterprise level support. It slots in really well right in there. So sorry.
Did you? No. I was kind of along the same lines. I was just asking. So is that offering offered primarily to your MSP customers? Is that where that comes in specifically, Evan?
Yes, it is. AWS policy is actually customers have to be resold under Sela in order to be eligible for partner-led support.
What about anything else going on community-wise this year for you guys, or plans for reInvent perhaps?
We'll definitely be at reInvent. I think we've got a good group going. Usually some of our team from overseas flies in as well, so we will we'll definitely be there, and would love to meet up with some people.
Yeah. Also still working, with the ISV team, trying to put together a, workshop roundtable for, ISVs to come in, solve some problems, maybe get some insight from AWS directly, and maybe get some critical things solved pretty shortly. So, if you're interested in that, of course, reach out, and, we're finding people that would add value to. So
that's cool. Have you been to reInvent before? Either of you? Yeah.
Yep.
We have.
Nice. Yeah, I went the last 2 years. Yeah. I don't know if I'll be able to make it this year. We'll see. But yeah, I always love, like I said, I love actually going and meeting people face to face. It's great.
It is. It's like a mini vacation.
I don't know if I go that far.
And you don't have to take any PTO days to hang out in Vegas for a week.
Yeah, last year Nathan and SaaS Factory, I don't know, we ended up together all the time. I don't know if you were stalking us or we were stalking you, Nathan. It was
we were definitely stalking you guys. There's no
I was.
You guys hang out with all the cool kids.
Yeah. No, I stalked you and Bill, and I think Oded was there. I think we met the whole team there. Rowena wasn't, but everybody. And so while Evan was on vacation, I had a job to speak, and I'll tell you. So I spoke at reInvent on a hobby project I did. But I'll tell you what, it's a whole operation to speak. That's probably a whole other podcast for you, James, or another show for you. But it's like, man, I was put through the ringer for like 2 days. Getting prepped. You have to go through all this setup. You have to get your slides checked. You have to get your audio checked, and take it. It's actually a really great experience, but they
do a fantastic job. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put all that effort in. That's why I declined my speaking. No, I'm kidding. I wasn't invited.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we'll see if I get to speak again this year. I haven't submitted my topic yet, but
you've always got us, Nathan. You can come hang with us no matter what.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. So, yeah,
of course.
Cool. Maybe there's time for another question here. So
we're still waiting for the. So
Anybody? Okay, so the answer was CERN.
I was gonna guess that. That was my guess.
Like, to me, that was like just the easiest answer because you're like, all these other three are too obvious. It's got to be this other one. So I don't know. Is anybody? Yeah. Still. Oh, yeah. So CERN. Oh, hey, you answered it first. I guess you get a.
I think I saw that pop up right after you said it.
All right. I'll let the judges roll on that one. So here's okay. So now I know people are listening. So let's hear. Here's a real easy one. Okay. So this platform.
Last chance here, guys.
Yeah.
What is Anthony's middle name?
Social media question. This platform allows users to create and share short music videos and merged with Musical.ly in 2018. So what social media platform? Vine, Snapchat, TikTok, or Triller?
I know this one.
Yeah. All right. You can't answer it because you're probably looking over my shoulder here. So.
Yeah.
So is it? So what's the? Is it Vine, Snapchat, TikTok, or Triller? So it short music create and share short music videos merged with Musical.ly in 2018. No. Oh, the options are Vine, Snapchat, TikTok, or Triller.
I've never heard of that last one.
I know, me neither. Some of these I'm like, what was that? So
competition. Yeah. Competition always breeds new. Yeah, I mean, even if I haven't heard of them, it's always better to have more options.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I what else could we ask about?
I have another quick one. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, Anthony, go for it.
Since we're kind of coming up, slowing down here, coming up on time. What would you say, Nathan and Evan, to potential customers that maybe are thinking about engaging with a partner, but they're not they're not sure. Maybe they're a little nervous about it, whatever it may be. What would you say to them? And how should they go about trying to engage with you?
Any halfway decent AWS partner is not going to charge you to have a conversation.
Yeah, that is true.
Good point.
Talk to some people in the community. Talk to your AWS account team. We're all part of the partner network. We all have a reputation with AWS. I think just talk to some people, talk to a few partners, see who you feel comfortable with, or if you don't feel comfortable with any of them, you can certainly go at it yourself. But there's so many tools out there, like the Amazon Partner Finder. You can read reviews of partners, on Amazon's website. I think just have some conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would add to that too. At the SaaS Factory and the SaaS competency team, myself, Rowena, Rupesh, Oded, kind of in the North American segment, we have Ray and Gagan in EMEA and APJ. You can find us also on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Certainly reach out to me if you have questions or comments, or maybe you're looking or thinking about engaging with a partner or want to know what that's about. More than happy to have that conversation with you. It's with no stress, obviously no obligation, nothing like that. I just want to be able to help. So feel free to reach out. We love Sela. Maybe they're the exact right partner for you. Maybe they're not, right? There may be another partner that is better, suited for your industry or your use case. We absolutely want to help you with that. That being said, like I said, Sela's awesome and amazing. So feel free to reach out to them directly as well.
Yeah. And I would say your partner is somebody you're going to work with for a while. So you have to like them. And there's some partners in it, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other sometimes. Of course, no one thinks that about themselves, but, it's find somebody you like and then use the recommendation from the different, AWS groups relevant to your area. If you've got a SaaS platform, talk to the SaaS Factory, right? Because they're going to go, here's a few good partners that are great options for you, right? If you're migrating to the cloud, same deal, if you don't know who your account manager is, find out who that is. I'm amazed how many customers I reach out to and they don't know. You know, we obviously can always help make those introductions, but they're going to know as well and try to find somebody that works well with you, works well with them, and there's just a lot of synergy going on. So
for that kind of dating period too, kind of at the beginning, right? I think it's a great or SaaS Discovery is potentially a great offering there as well to help that out. Very little obligation on either the partner or the customer side. You can get to know each other kind of on AWS's dime. So know you guys have embraced that a bit as well, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we, of course, if, you know, like as Evan said, any good partner is going to have that conversation with you up front. We do some of those things where, you know, if you want the SaaS Discovery program, you know, if you're starting a SaaS build, a SaaS platform, and you want to see what's a good plan and what's a good architecture plan, and you want some help, SaaS Discovery is a good way to go for that. You know, Jumpstart's another great one for startup oriented companies.
Before you move on from SaaS Discovery, Nathan,
yeah.
You know, we will come in, help you put together a plan to build a SaaS product or SaaSify a existing product, and it is completely free and there is no obligation. The SaaS Factory team pays for it, you know, for our time or another SaaS competency partner's time. But there's no obligation on your part. If you decide to never deploy anything on AWS, you can walk away. Sorry, Nathan.
No, I'm glad you said that, and I signed us up for a free service on it, you know. but yeah, no, we love that first, you know, if you want to plan, we do the same kind of thing for migrations or, you know, proof of concept type engagements. Find a good partner and see what kind of things they can leverage from AWS. I mean, it really is a good way. And find somebody who's constantly collaborating with AWS, because not every AWS partner is heavily engaged. Your premier tier, you're pretty sure they're heavily engaged. You know, advanced tier, most likely, right? So find somebody who's heavily engaged, plugged into the AWS ecosystem. It really is a great way to accelerate and take advantage of resources you don't know are available to you.
Yeah. Again, I'll mention there's we have so many programs inside the partner network. Even I'm learning about new ones constantly.
Me too, James.
So, and that's another thing you mentioned, just reaching out to a partner. You can also reach out to, as Nathan said, like the account manager that will get us in, they can get you in touch with someone from the partner side, and we can highlight some of those programs, the requirements, if there are any, and things like that. So that, you know, like, again, it's a win-win all the way around for almost all these programs. Like, there's credits, incentives, you know, all sorts of things, accelerations. We have guides out of guides out of guides. So
I think what people don't, you know, sometimes people are you know, hesitant. Like, what's the catch? And you know, SaaS Discovery, map assessment, migration assessments, proofs of concept, you're not signing up for some huge commit deal when you do those. It really is, try this out, assess this, see what the plan is, and you can walk away at the end. Now, the reality is most people don't, because they see it works. They've worked with a partner, it works, AWS stands behind it, it's going to work, right? So a lot of times people keep moving forward, but it really is a great way to try it and still have an escape route. So,
yeah, I think a lot of, you know, there's certainly some apprehension out there that, you know, sounds too good to be true, that sort of thing that I think raises its head. And you really have to understand why. You know, why does AW invest in our partners, invest in our customers in this way? And it's because we've seen time and time again that organizations, customers that work with a partner that have a goal of building out SaaS are 100 times more even chances of being successful in that project just goes up exponentially when a partner is involved. And so that's great for us as AWS, because we want you to be a customer forever, right? We want you to use our resources. So we're more than happy to invest in customers that work with partners, because we know that it will help you to be successful.
Yeah.
And that we all win in the long run.
Yeah, and that's how we approached it. We don't want short-term relationships with people. We want to be there for a long, long time. And so we want to do good work all the time, every time. and, keep you around. And a lot of times, earning that trust is showing what we can bring to the table from AWS. And, and that helps us. That's a great part about being a partner, is that's a great way with AWS standing behind us, the SaaS factory saying, or the SaaS competency programming saying, yes, they know SaaS, right? How many times do you modernize an application that you own and operate over years, right? If you have a legacy SaaS or an ISV that maybe needs some modernization, if you're that product owner or that engineering team that supports it, you may only go through that process, every now and then. But, a partner like us, we're doing it all the time for all sorts of different customers. And it sounds simple, but it's amazing how much insight you get from more eyes, right? And then when we bring in, Anthony or whoever from the SaaS team, and they say, oh, I see it from this angle, I see it from this angle, you really get a whole lot of expertise really fast, rather than, doing the roll at your own or do a DIY type approach. It really makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Oh, well, we have a question here from Mickey Chunky. They say they're late. Welcome to the party. Come at 2 o'clock next time. Anyway, they want to know, what can SaaS Factory offer to projects that are already on AWS?
Yeah, certainly. And I do want to make sure that we're talking about a couple of different things here, right? We have SaaS Factory, then we have SaaS Competency, and then we have our SaaS Competency partners, right? So the AWS SaaS Factory is a team from within AWS, specifically assigned to the partner network. But we do provide resources, globally for all of our customers, of course, as well. Working on creating best practices and looking at the transformations and how transformations can successfully happen for our customers moving into AWS and building SaaS. Same thing is true, though, even if you're an existing AWS customer, you're currently building on AWS, you have this idea of building SaaS. The SaaS Factory has all of those resources available to you as well. You certainly don't have to be a greenfield startup to gain access to SaaS Factory and SaaS Factory resources. So certainly, if you do a Google search for SaaS on AWS, you will be taken directly to our page, or you can link into our page, and that will have, give you all these different resources available to you, including reference architectures that we've built out. We have a whole new SaaS Builder toolkit that is kind of a refresher of all of those architectures and putting them all under one centralized architectural theme that will then be maintained by the community going forward. So there's a lot of resources that are out there and available to you that SaaS Factory can bring to you. That being said, we do also engage directly with partners within the APN. So if you're a part of the partner network, there's a possibility that we could work with you directly. However, we are a very small team, and that's where SaaS Competency really begins to shine. SaaS Competency has allowed us to scale out the capabilities of the SaaS Factory and include our partners that have attained that designation as being somebody that we trust at AWS, at the SaaS Factory, to present our message, our best practices, and to assist our customers building SaaS on AWS as well. So, there's a lot that we could offer at AWS directly and through the SaaS Factory, and certainly take a look at our resources, and we'd be glad to assist or help you out in those cases. And if you're looking for direct hands-on support, then that's really where having a good partner like Sela can really help you. Even if you're already an AWS customer, right? Even if you're already building an AWS, SaaS is a very different animal than building traditional software.
Yeah, we've got, sometimes there's a lot of different programs, and I always say it depends, but sometimes map funding can be used for some of those. There's the ISV transformation if you have a software product, and that also leverages map under the hood. There's POC, to even do what you're kind of attempting that you might do. But if you're looking at expanding a SaaS platform, and all of a sudden you're going to just scale that platform up quite a bit, there's a lot of good programs to get plugged into to really enable you.
Yeah. I see there was a follow-up question here as well, asking, are we talking about more than just technical competency? Absolutely, and that is a key differentiator here, right? the building of SaaS from a technical perspective, really when it comes down to it, is somewhat of an academic exercise. We can put the architectures in place, talking about control planes and application plane and tenant isolation, and all those technical things are fairly straightforward concepts once you've been introduced to them and the techniques to produce them. The far harder aspect of building any SaaS solution is the business transformation that typically has to take place in order to be a successful SaaS organization. And that is a whole other conversation that certainly SaaS Factory talks a lot about. In fact, we have not only solutions architects at the SaaS Factory, but we also have business architects as well that are specifically focused on those areas, the actual business transformation process that goes along with building out SaaS. And then, of course, our SaaS competency partners like Sela here, who can speak to all of those concepts as well as the technical as well. We never really can have a SaaS conversation without talking about the business side of SaaS too. It is absolutely not just a technical question.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks. Food for thought, says Mickey Chunky. Anyway.
It's a great username, by the way.
Yeah, it's an awesome username. Yeah.
Mine's way less fun. So.
Right. Well, we're coming close to time. Is there any last words before we start wrapping things up here? Anything from Sela or Anthony that they want to mention? Anything upcoming? We kind of talked about that. Anything upcoming? Any action items? Check us out here kind of stuff?
No, really appreciate you guys taking the time. Great conversation, James, Anthony, and anybody who's interested in SaaS. We love talking about it. Definitely feel free to reach out to us. We said before, it doesn't cost anything to have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've got New York Summit is still kind of ongoing right now. Certainly look at the resources that are out there that are published. There's a lot of stuff kind of hitting the airwaves right now, so I'd highly encourage that. As Nathan and Evan mentioned, we do have SaaS Factory folks there at Summit and doing some presentations. I know Bill's been really busy out there, Bill Tarr. We, of course, also have our Twitch show as well, Building SaaS on AWS, that's going to be starting up a new season here pretty shortly. So certainly join us for those if you are so inclined. And other than that, reInvent's always just around the corner. So
yeah, it's going to be here before we know
it. That's right.
Yeah. What time is your show on, Anthony? Or what's your time slot?
My show is bright and early, so it's typically runs every other Wednesday. So the schedule's a little odd right now, but it's at 6 a.m. Pacific time, so it's very early. For our Pacific West Coast audience, it's certainly better time zone as far as our East Coast folks, and also to cover into EMEA. We wanted to try and spread out across those two time zones. So Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern time, and we will we have a great season set ahead of us, going up all the way to reInvent, and perhaps we might be looking at expanding to a weekly show later in 2025. So we'll see how that goes. But thanks for that, James.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. And my last call, please check out our survey if you get a second. It's not an AWS show or an AWS thing without a survey. It's only like 4 questions. Please, if you can take a second. And thank you for tuning in, and check back next week. We're here next Wednesday with our next partner, and we will see you then. Thank you for coming today, and thank you to Sela. Everyone have a great day.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Shane. Always a pleasure. Thanks, Sela.
Thank you.